Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for today or tomorrow or Wednesday or Tuesday or whenever, because after all, it's your podcast. So joining me is, podcasting can be quite difficult, but sometimes you've got to turn that skill level up. And one of the ways to turn that skill level up is to invite on as many people as you can from an organisation. So joining me today from Digisprite, who are up north, and we'll do some folk up in Scotland, up north jokes later on. I've got Robyn Davies, who's the MD. I've got Elaine Lithgow, who is the producer, and I've got Sam Taylor, who is the lead designer. So hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
It's so it's good to have you on. I don't know how this is going to work in terms of getting people to talk. I'm just going to ask questions and then put a kind of a random name on the end. For people who haven't listened to the show before, the reason that we do this is quite simply because we've done 250 episodes, so it'd be rude to stop now. We might as well just keep going until the world ends. And the other reason to do this is we speak to a lot of designer developers, and for want of a better word, a lot of them are kind of based further afield in the kind of the US. So I speak to a lot of folk from, as you would say, kind of a lot across the pond. But today I thought, a couple of weeks back, I saw there was a kind of company on Twitter that was kind of working and operating out of Dundee, and it was called Digisprite, and I went, I was kind of interested to see what they were doing and what they were up to, so I decided to have them kind of on. But guys, obviously, we want to kind of know a little bit about yourselves. I guess the first thing is, where did the idea for the company kind of come together? I mean, have you guys kind of known each other long? Have you been kind of like friends long? Do you play board games together quite regularly?
So I've done like sort of indie game development and stuff for quite a few years. So I started the company myself a while back and just did some like video game indie dev stuff. Then I met Elaine, and through her I met Sam. Those guys have been good friends together for quite a long time. So just kind of through all knowing each other, we all played games, all played board games and stuff together. And then it kind of started with Doomsday Bots, where it was initially an idea that I had for another sort of video game. And I'd been sitting at work thinking about it all day, and I brought it home and we just started talking about it, and it became this kind of cool idea for a little board game that we ended up working on.
All right, okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Have you been playing kind of board games long then, Robyn? I mean, is this something you've been doing for quite a while? That obviously you're obviously involved in the video games as well as the board games. So have you been playing board games quite long yourself then?
Yeah, I've been playing board games for a decent while. Not as long as video games. Like board games was more of a recent thing, but still for a little while. And certainly more so now. After meeting sort of Sam and Elaine and doing all this, obviously.
Yeah. What about yourselves, Sam and Elaine? I mean, I mean, how did you? Do you remember how you kind of met, kind of Robyn, kind of bumped into them, got involved? I mean, were you two kind of playing board games, for a while then, or?
Well, Sam and I originally met back at university. We went to Abertay University, where we were studying games design, production management. That was mostly focused around video games again.
Right, okay.
But ever since then, Sam and I, we were constantly designing many failed, terrible card games, and one time we tried to design a game that was both miniatures, skirmish, tabletop game, and also a card game on the side, and we realised it would take about 4 tables to play by the time we got it done. But yeah, we've always been kind of like doing little things here and there on the side, but it was only really once we met Robyn and started hanging out there where Robyn was like, oh hey, I actually have a company. We could actually make one of these games a real thing, and we're like, nah.
Is it just like a side kind of comment kind of thing? Just like when somebody says, I've actually got a 1,300-foot yacht, if you want to use that at all, kind of thing. I've actually got a kind of little, I don't mean to say it, I'm kind of embarrassed even kind of mentioning it, but I do kind of have like a board game company sitting here in my kind of back pocket ready to go. What's the skirmish game called?
Oh god, what was it? Was the working title
Sam.
Terra something?
Yeah, it was like Terra something.
Right.
It was like a weird futuristic close combat miniatures game. And the cards all represented like equipment and stuff that you're trying to dole out to your guys. And then there was like battlefield action, so you could call down orbital bombardments and stuff like that. But there's a couple of ideas in there that are pretty good. I think they'll maybe just be in the back pocket for later. But that game was a mess entirely. I think that kind of came about because I'm a Magic the Gathering kind of guy. I've been playing trading card games since I was like 6 years old or something. And Elaine's more like a Warhammer nerd. So we tried to kind of combine both things there, and it didn't go too well.
It did not work.
No.
But the thought was there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like chivalry and realism. But interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure that there's quite a few... hasn't the Warhammer kind of gone down that route? The Games Workshop stuff, so a lot of it's gone down the route of introducing kind of cards. I'm pretty sure, isn't that kind of Shadespire's?
Yeah.
Kind of, I think the guys at Unlucky Frog podcast will be screaming at this episode going, you stupid, idiotic, ignorant man. But as far as I was aware, that's what they did. They kind of introduced the card mechanic alongside the miniatures. I don't think it was in a kind of like a bigger army type thing, but I think it was definitely there. So, have you two been kind of like designing? Did you continue with the kind of design aspect? I mean, did you you threw Terror Blancmange or whatever it was called off to the side, and kind of focus. So did you? Have you all? I mean, I guess Sam, have you always been kind of playing away at card games? Then have you always tried to invent something that's just like Magic but it's better?
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely a goal in like my late teenage years, was to try and make like better Magic. But I find that's pretty hard. So like I wanted to make a game that was like Magic and also Yu-Gi-Oh at the same time.
All right, okay.
But like that didn't go too well. But like we've always tried to make a bunch of different games. Like I've got this weird passion for the old WWE Raw Deal trading card game.
Right, okay.
And it's got this really interesting system that nobody really uses anymore for like trading card games, or even just like card battle stuff anyway. So I'll just get weird ideas like that. Like here's this old card game that nobody really uses, and just take pieces of it and try and put it together into something else. Yeah. But it's definitely been a different process working with these two, because it's like a lot more. It's better because we actually get things done, and it usually works most of the time.
Most of the time.
I think that's the problem we've all had, is just like starting a bunch of random projects that we like or that we think are good, and then just them just kind of trailing off and never happening. So it's good having having like a team structure where we're all actually getting stuff done instead of just forgetting about things or whatever. So
People call you on your shit.
How does
exactly.
how does a dynamic work then? I mean, because normally if I'm speaking to, say, like designer, kind of developer kind of people for kind of tabletop, they're usually lone by themselves, not working in a team. The only time they claim to be working on a team is kind of like a line on their CV. But generally all the ideas have got nothing to kind of filter through. Does it make for a little bit more of a kind of a more interesting process? Is it a slower process having 3 people develop a game than you just coming up with the ideas kind of like yourself, would you say?
I think it can be a bit of both, where, because there's 3 of us sort of shooting ideas and bouncing things off each other, we're able to get more done in that regard. But there certainly are situations where it's like, we're all going completely opposite directions with a thing, and so it can be more difficult to kind of pull all of that together into one cohesive idea that works. But I think it works very well, because you get different viewpoints, you get different experiences, all that sort of stuff. I think that benefits us rather than just, one person making a thing and running with that sort of in a vacuum. So with us 3 being able to just bounce everything off each other, I think we get a really good dynamic, and I think we all work well together as well. Okay.
Does it mean that you've got more ideas kind of discarded then?
Oh yeah.
Does it?
Yeah. We've got the idea wall in our flat. And it's just full of just post-its of ideas of things we have, and it's just like, we're never going to get around to like any of these, but they're there.
Is it like the conspiracy? Is it like the conspiracy theory meme?
Oh yeah. So we're just So it's, if we ever need an idea, we can just pull a post-it off the wall. But we tend to end up with sort of like one idea that someone comes up with, and we all really like, and then we just kind of run with that, get a little prototype together and just see how it works. If it's good, then we keep running with it. If it turns out to not be so good, then just kind of bin that and move on.
Yeah, I think that for me is one of the best things, because I worked in video games for quite a while as well. One of the best things about board games is how quickly you can take a concept to a prototype. If you're working in video games or whatever, it can take you weeks, months to get like basic functionality in play and get a proper feel for the game. But on a Saturday night, you can stand up and say, "Oh my god, I have this great idea," and then the paper comes out and the printer comes out, and like by the end of the weekend, you have a working prototype, and you can tell if it's gonna work.
Yeah, I've definitely done that a couple of times. Just had like 2-day prototype processes. We've got a shelf of a bunch of games as well that we've not really even tested, but I've just sat down over a weekend and gotten all the bits together just so I can get it out of my brain and keep going with like Adventure Mart and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to a few kind of designers who their route to actually developing a tabletop game was they had an idea, say like a MOBA or something like that, they were going to make the next whatever, but them actually taking it to, they were in video games, but actually sitting down and actually programming something, getting even the most basic prototype working it was taking them months, to the point that the passion that originally fueled the idea almost kind of disappeared. Yeah. Because they were having to spend so long kind of programming it. So by the time they were up and running with it, they're kind of like, can't be arsed with this anymore, I'm going to go and do something else. Whereas, they were able to get 15 sheets of A4, cut it up into cards, and then get themselves kind of rocking and rolling within a couple of, with it, literally, as you said, Sam, within a couple of minutes or, even a couple of days to get something kind of up and running and kind of worth it. Out of interest, Robyn, I mean, what made you decide to put the company together? I mean, I take it obviously it's, the business itself seems to be kind of like almost a bit kind of like a holistic digital type suite of, different services that you offer. was it because that you originally, you started off offering digital services that you set up the business in the first place? I mean, how did you come to how did Digisprite actually come to exist?
So it started off when I was at university. So in my first year, I started doing like freelance web development type things.
Oh, right, okay.
So I did that sort of throughout university, just as instead of getting like another part-time job, I just did that instead. Because I was doing applied computing at uni anyway, so it kind of they fit together really well. So I started doing that, and then I think it was in my third year we did like a video games module. Mm-hmm. And while I was working on my project for that, it was something that I was sort of looking to actually take further and release and stuff. And because of that, I thought, well, I might as well start an actual company for this. If it's something that I'm going to want to do and be able to run as a proper company. So I did that, and then since then I've just gone, well, sort of between then and now, I just carried on doing that sort of stuff, making little indie games and stuff. I never really went anywhere with them. The first one that I made, I got it greenlit on Steam, and it was part of there was like an indie bundle that got put into that. And it got a bunch of copies sold through there. But as with most of the projects, it just kind of fell to the wayside eventually. And then
what was that called?
It was called Treasures of Arcania.
Oh, right, okay. Is it still available then?
Not anywhere, because it got greenlit, but I didn't actually sort of fully release it eventually. So it's kind of sitting on my computer somewhere, but not fully released.
Okay.
And then since then, it was just making little things here and there, and then after sort of Elaine and I got together, and then met Sam through her, picked up the board game side of things, because it was something like we all had a good passion for. It was something like those guys had been designing their own for years and stuff before we all met, and then I'd been doing my sort of video game side of things, so it fit well together, I think.
So I mean, you went on to create Doomsday Bots, yeah?
Yeah, that was our first thing together, yeah.
That was your first kind of thing together. I mean, who came up with the original kind of idea? Was it kind of like a mixture of everybody together, or was it kind of Sam shuffling towards the table one morning and saying, I couldn't sleep last night, so I did this, guys, what do you think?
Well, the concept for Doomsday Bots actually started off as sort of like a dungeon runner fantasy style game, like a roguelike. And then...
Oh, right, okay.
And then it just kind of evolved into like a robot kind of thing, with the way sort of pieces were laid out. And then the whole tower concept kind of came from that.
I remember it was one day we were chatting away, talking about like, oh, so you're going through this dungeon and you've got your sword and you've got your armor, and then something hits you, so you drop your sword and you got to keep going. And we were like, it'd be kind of interesting if it was a robot instead. So if you got hit, like you might literally lose your head, but you can keep on going because you're just this jank robot flailing your way through these dungeons, and it sort of evolved from there.
Did it take long to kind of put together then?
The initial concept kind of came together quite fast, but it was like the first kind of board game that we really kind of pushed towards making a real thing. So there was a lot of work gone into just changing up the card pool every couple of weeks, seeing how it worked. A lot of kind of playtesting. We're kind of in the same playtesting loop that we are in now with Adventure Mart, where we just kind of have Sundays as Digisprite Day, and we just make sure we sit down and get like a playtest done, and then talk about anything that we need to do, and then everybody gets a post-it note with the things they need to do during the next week, and then we go away and do some work. So like I'll go away and work on the card pool, and the girls would go and do whatever they do, because I don't see them because I'm not here when they do it, and then we'll just all come back together on Sunday and then do it again. So it took like 3 months or something like that to really just get the card pool and stuff into a state that we felt was like a full kind of game.
Yeah, it's a period of lots of iteration cycles. The actual game engine clunks into place fairly early, and then it's just us taking hammers to it for a few months until we feel satisfied with what we've got.
I've just got a vision of you all standing round the table with hammers in your hand, just smashing bits off of like cardboard and going, this is not how you make a game. But
it definitely feels like that sometimes when, like, you know, you're trying to come up with an idea and it's just not coming together at all.
Do you have to strip stuff out? I mean, do you find you're kind of like, because there's three of you, you're bringing a lot of ideas to the table, so it ends up like a massive, delicious stew of ideas, but then somebody says, you know, the kind of, we need to take the onions out, you better get rid of the mushrooms, you know, kind of thing, and you're kind of having to remove stuff down to kind of get it down to the kind of the base tastiness, if you know what I mean. What a bad analogy.
Yeah, definitely. We call that the board game umami.
You've got a name for it.
We'll start with like just everything, and we'll just kind of put together what we think is maybe a possible idea. With just sort of all the ideas we have, and then we'll just kind of boil that down, take out the bits that don't seem to be working, or if it's something that's like, okay, this seems good, but it's not working as it is, then we can kind of rework that and try it again. And then we get it down to sort of like a base version, and with sort of a solid engine, solid core that's working. And then from there, we can then start sort of building it back up again with things that fit that engine itself. Until we have the kind of fully fleshed out game.
Yeah, I think Adventure Mart's like a really good example of that.
Yeah.
Where for the first sort of 5 versions of the game, it was sort of like a Euro kind of drafting game. So like you just sit alone in your corner and do a bunch of things here and there.
Yeah.
But we kept stripping parts out and putting things in, but it was kind of like always missing like that umami, that real good hit of gameplay goodness. And then just on like the 5th version, I can't even remember what sparked it, but I thought like, what if we use like a deck building engine? Not as like a full deck building game, but just the process of building a deck is sort of like side to facilitate a lot of the gameplay actions and stuff. And we just kind of inserted that into the game with all the other pieces that we had, and it worked out. Kind of just gone forward from that, and now we're like 13 versions deep on Adventure Mart. As it's been like a deck building game kind of since then. Yeah. I mean, you took Doomsday Bots, you took to kind of Kickstarter, and was that kind of like a conscious decision at the time? Did you actually think of going ahead and kind of self-publishing it kind of yourselves through the business, or was Kickstarter kind of really the only viable option to kind of get Doomsday Bots into kind of reality?
I think like initially it was a case of we have this idea and we'd love to see it become a thing, but we didn't have the personal funds to be able to just drop a whole load of money into and make it happen ourselves, without knowing whether it would work at all, or whether anyone would be interested in it or anything. Kickstarter was kind of the aim from the start. But initially, we were like, right, this is something we think is actually pretty good. We could make this into something that we think would maybe sell and people would maybe want. So at that point I set out to get us some funding, to be able to get us to the point where we could kind of, rather than going to Kickstarter with just kind of like an idea, I want to go there with like a proper concept of a thing that was basically ready to print. So I went to Scottish Enterprise and was able to secure us a grant through them, and that took us sort of through art and production and not production, sorry, through art and prototyping and stuff, to the point where it was like, right, we've got a finished product here, we just need to make it. And then we went to Kickstarter with that, so that it was like, there's no risk really to the backers who are wanting to get involved, because it's all there, it's all ready to go. It's just once we get the once we hit our goal, that's it. The game's getting made. It's going to ship out to you. There's no problems there. So that's how we did that.
Yeah. How easy was it dealing? I suppose I should explain to everybody, because we do have a lot of listeners in America, that Scottish Enterprises, basically, it's a government body that provides information, advice, support, kind of workshops to various different parts of Scottish industry. Could it be digital? Traditionally, funnily enough, they've never really concentrated on kind of retail for a thing, but they provide kind of like funding. They can provide grant funding and things like that as well. So were they how easy, how receptive were they to the kind of the pitch? Because I guess, it must have been a fairly unusual kind of pitch to them to say, did you get asked if it was like Monopoly or if it was like, Cluedo, or was it kind of like that kind of conversation, or was the person that you dealt with, were you educating them as much as they were educating you during the kind of the funding process?
There was a bit of both. Luckily, the advisor that I got put onto was kind of a fan of board games himself. So
that's cool.
So that was really good. So like I was able to speak to him about it, and like I could see he was kind of excited about the idea and thought it'd be really cool to be able to help a business in Scotland be able to get into doing sort of board games and things. So he was really receptive and really helpful with that. So I think he was definitely really useful in that regard, because he was, he was switched on enough and kind of got the idea. So he was able to help take that forward and get us the funding that we needed for that, which was really cool. Yeah,
I think Mark McKinnon, who did Wreck and Ruin, he dealt with an advisor. He's kind of probably closer to central, kind of west coast, and the advisor that he dealt with kind of was aware of Exploding Kittens.
Okay.
So they were the kind of the other extreme.
Yeah.
He kind of looked at his board game and idea and he goes, "You are aware that Exploding Kittens did about 1.2 million, so this means you're going to have to invest this amount of money for advertising." And Mark's just like, hold the phone here.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen. But were they kind of decent in the kind of the level of support and assistance that they kind of gave you to kind of help you get it before you were kind of taking it to Kickstarter?
Yeah, the guy that I worked with was great for that. He was really understanding, and there's they kind of went out of their way to help us with a few things, because with their funding, you have to pay the things before they pay you back.
Yes. Yeah.
They were normally it would have to, you would pay the whole amount and then they'd pay you it all back. But that wasn't really an option for us, so I was able to work with him to make it so it got split in half. So we paid sort of the artists the first half, and then they paid us that back, and then we used that second half to pay the next half, and then got it back, and sort of we're able to do it like that, rather than having to have rather than having to have a whole amount of money just sitting there ready to go. So he was really good for that.
Well, that's cool. Because then you went to Kickstarter,
mm-hmm.
as we've said, and you didn't just fund, you funded and then some.
Yeah.
Because you asked for 5,000 and you ended up kind of romping home with about almost 13.5. When was that? Was that May? That was May last year, roughly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it finished around, I think we
July.
started in June
July.
and then finished around
July.
Yeah.
Aye, sorry. At that point, was the target that you'd set, was that, because one of the things I noticed about last year on Kickstarter was there seemed to be a lot of targets going down there where the guys needed 10 grand, but they set their funding goal at 5, and it still seems to be some kind of ridiculous thing that's going on Kickstarter. But did you set the level so it was if we get 5 grand, it's definitely happening? If we get less than 5, you had to get a more than 5 grand in order to make it a reality, or was the 5 grand going to definitely cover the costs and get it already? Yeah,
before we went to Kickstarter, I spoke with a bunch of manufacturers and stuff. Got quotes from them to say, right, this is how much it'll cost you to make this.
Uh-huh.
So we went in. That was the 5K goal was, that would cover that and cover shipping for the amount of backers that we would probably have sitting at around 5,000.
All right. Okay.
So
okay.
we went in with that and thought, right, if we can get that, that'd be really cool because that gets it made. It gets it in people's hands, and there's obviously been interest in what we made. But yeah, then it just went. It kind of exploded, just like out of nowhere, really. Not entirely sure how that happened because we put it on the first day, and it just kind of it just went crazy because it was funded the day after. I think it was like 37 hours or something.
Yeah,
like we couldn't believe it. And then we had sort of like a bit of a lull, and then we went to the UK Games Expo, and then it picked up again, and then a bit of a lull, and then again at the end it just went crazy again. It was just, yeah. We couldn't believe it. We took it to Kickstarter thinking, well, we've got a cool idea here, and we hope people like it. And then like it overfunds by nearly sort of 3 times as much as we wanted.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of marketing then? I mean, were you building up kind of contacts within the industry? Did you do a lot of marketing in the community to kind of raise awareness of of Doombots?
I think the biggest thing we did was just the UK Games Expo. Just being able to sort of get it in front of 20,000 people and pitch it to them.
Yeah.
And we deliberately launched the Kickstarter sort of a few days before the UK Games Expo. So that it meant that it was running while we were there. So, we could say to people, look, if you really like this, then it's there for you to back if you're interested. Rather than it being like, this is already finished, so if you like it, you'll have to wait until it's out and then buy it and stuff. But other than that, we didn't do any marketing, mostly just because it wasn't really in the budget. The Scottish Enterprise funding, that paid for the art and the prototypes and stuff, but we didn't really have anything left for marketing and stuff. So the UK Games Expo was the big thing that we really want to hit. And get a lot of feedback, get a lot of people engaged and whatnot, and that seems to have worked really well. And
now Doomsday Bots is now out there.
It is, yeah. We shipped it all last week.
Was that kind of quite cool?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Being surrounded by boxes, actually having your game kind of in your hands and it all kind of being finished and everything like that.
Yeah, it's kind of unbelievable. It turned up at the door in a big lorry, and it just got dumped as a big pallet of these just 51 boxes of this, and we're just like, oh no, we've got to find room for this somewhere.
Did you have? Did you have to kind of take it home or something like that? Did you? Have you got kind of living rooms full of boxes?
Yeah,
and stuff?
Exactly. Yeah, so we got it dropped off just outside, and then we sort of shuttled it all in. We had to sell a sofa to make enough space in the living room to pile all of the boxes up.
Really?
So yeah, we got rid of a sofa, piled them all up in there, and then it was just for the next couple of weeks, it's just an assembly line of just box packing from all 3 of us. One person's wrapping them all in bubble wrap, one person's building the boxes, one person's fitting them all in and filling it. And
we watched a lot of Star Trek movies.
Yeah, it was basically just sit down, put a bunch of movies on and go for it.
Oh dear. And whose idea was the Star Trek then?
Well,
that was me.
Robyn.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But
so did you ship them all out then?
We did.
Did you ship them out yourselves then? All right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we had a Royal Mail business account, and we just printed out all the labels, packed them all, sent them all out.
Our local post office may hate us now.
Yeah, turning up with I think in total it was like 35, 40 bags of games. Just here you go. This is your problem now. Yeah.
Did you turn up? Did you make sure? Obviously Pension Day I don't think exists anymore because everybody gets it up. But did you go in the busiest time possible on the busiest day possible and just turn around and look at everybody and say, got 400 of these to post. Better go and get yourself a cup of tea. This is going to be a while.
Well, we managed to take it up to one of their depots, but the funny thing was, obviously, so we've got all these board games in boxes, which just increases the bulk of them, and then you're putting them in postal bags, and you're wrapping them up, tagging them, and we're like, okay, so we've got about 27 bags here. My car can fit 12. So we load up the car and we drive it over there. And then we're like, okay, cool. Here's to give you all these bags. And they're like, okay, wow, that's quite a lot. And I'm like, oh, no, this is just carload number 1.
It's like back to student days and moving house.
Yeah, just trying to stuff as many bags in there, but we managed to get it all done in the end. But they went above and beyond the Call of Duty that day. I'll say that.
Did you drive safe though?
Of
course.
Was
that the main thing? You weren't driving with like a big sack of board games in your lap to wrap your arms around the steering, head out, window open, head out the side.
Yeah, that's not the type of victory lap I'd be interested in. It's like, yay, we did it, everyone, and then just crash into the Tay.
It make kind of interesting copy in an advertising point of view. I think you would have sold out in the first printing if you'd done that.
Yeah,
possibly. It's like, Doomsday more than just like as a game, really. Doomsday for life, pretty much, kind of thing. Have you had a chance to play it, or are you sick to the back teeth at kind of playing it as well? Because this is one of the things I see a lot is it's almost like it's like the second honeymoon. Obviously, the first you go through a couple of them. Obviously, when the game gets funded, you're like, yay, and then knowing that the game's ready and made. But have you had a chance to actually play a fully produced kind of finished copy yet?
We have, yeah. We played a few games of it today, just this afternoon. But yeah, like during development, it was definitely, you just play this thing constantly, and you're like tweaking things and fixing it, and so yeah, when you're just playing it day in day out and thinking about it nonstop, it can be a nightmare.
Yeah, like towards the end of development, I came up with a way to just test the game myself. Just set up like a gauntlet and pretend to be 4 players and just like roll d20s all the time, just getting it through. And I could do a match in about like 15 minutes by the end. But it was really helpful in just like testing specific things. So I would set up the game in like a certain way and then roll it through that way. And then on our Sundays we could get in like a more general like fun time test, I guess.
Yeah.
For me, the breaking point was the UK Games Expo, because we obviously had a demo table set up. And it was like there was not much time at all where the demo table was not running. So luckily enough, we had 3 of us, so we could rotate out. But for 3 days, you're just constantly playing the game. And luckily enough, it's a game that does have a lot of variety. You can build your robots in lots of different ways we still discover. Yeah. But there's only so many times you can play your own game before you start like dreaming at night and hearing the Doomsday Bots pitch in your head and like imagining, okay, cool, so I'm gonna like shoot the rocket fist here and then go here and then like rocket jump over here and do this. And
it's like I love you, but I hate currently looking at your face. Kind of like, you are my child, but if I see you again, I'm going to lock you in the cellar. It's available on retail just now, so everybody's going to be going, yes, they keep talking about this game, but they're not actually really talking about this game. Who's willing to give the kind of the 37-second elevator pitch on what Doomsday Bots is about? And I think you should have a slapping contest. I'm only joking. Okay. Who's gonna step up to the plate?
Okay, so I'm rewinding my mentality back like about 6-7 months ago to the UK Games Expo, where we had to recite this to thousands of people over and over again.
Right.
And I could put on my sales pitch voice.
I want to hear the sales pitch voice.
Right. So Doomsday Bots is a 2 to 4 player bot drafting game set in a post-apocalyptic world where everyone takes on the roles of mad geniuses. And what you've got to do is, at the start of the game, there's a drafting phase which represents your mad geniuses scavenging around the wasteland and looking for like broken bot parts. So we're talking like arms, legs, weapons, torsos, etc., etc. So you all draft out these parts, and then you build a boss tower, which like the default shape is a clock tower, which is like 2 cards wide and 5 cards tall. But you can technically set up in whatever way you want. And at the top of this tower, you shove a boss, there's how many in the game at the end? Was there 7?
There's 10 now.
10 different bosses in the game. So you pick a boss
Wow.
randomly, and then the boss also comes with a bunch of boss loot, which are like super powerful pieces of equipment. And the goal of the game is to build your little scrappy, broken, barely working robot and climb up through the tower. So each room has various challenges in it. So it could be something deadly, like a hall of turrets, which will like shoot your robot up, or it could be like the goon break room, which is just where there's a bunch of like goons sitting around having like a nice game of cards. And your bot will be challenged on different stats. So intelligence, speed, and power, which are like the 3 that are in the game. And each part you equip to your bot will give you a bonus to that stat. And it will also give you like a special effect. So you might have rocket boots that will give you a plus to your speed and also let you like skip a room. Or like a molten gunblade, which gives you like a power and intelligence, I believe, and lets you cut through things, etc. So the entire goal of the game is to fight your way through all the rooms, and you can also attack each other. There's some good PvP in there. All the way up to the top of the tower, defeat the boss, and then claim the Doomsday device from them, and then fight your way back down the bottom of the tower and escape to hand it off to your mad genius, so that you can end the world right this time. And I think I covered most of it. The primary sort of main mechanic that we quite like is that any time you fail a test, or any time you lose a fight with a player, a piece of your robot will break off and fall down onto like the floor, at which point other people can pick that up and slot it into their robot, or you can scramble around.
Right, okay.
So as you fight your way through, you're all knocking bits off each other, and it's a bit like a destruction derby of post-apocalyptic steampunk robots.
That is cool. That was, however, a lot longer than 37
seconds. It was.
seconds.
I am sorry.
I'd just like to point out I am going to be editing this bang on 37 seconds. No, I'm really joking.
Yes, it was a little bit rusty, okay?
I just don't want you to end up kind of like waking up in the middle of the night now and going, things falling off. You know, because you've now back into the line of this is the only thing that's going to be going through your brain now for kind of like the next 3 weeks. It's kind of like brought you back into the room of pitching again. And how much is it?
So it's
to buy.
It's £24 and then postage on top of that.
Oh, cool.
So about £3 postage in the UK, I think.
Oh, cool. And you can get that from the website.
Yep, you can get it on our website. There's a few retailers around the world that are stocking it as well, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that is cool.
So
that is cool.
You might be able to pick it up in your local store. Who knows?
Are you going through the likes of kind of online places like Amazon or eBay or anything like that as well, or is it just purely through your own site?
Currently just through our own site, but I've been looking into the Amazon, like sort of fulfillment by Amazon stuff.
Oh yeah, okay.
Main issue with that is just like you're charged a monthly fee. And so it's like, to make it worth it, you have to be selling like a certain amount of whatever it is you're selling. So
yes,
probably have to gauge interest a bit, and then see about if it'd be worth it or if it's just going to cost us money to put them on there.
Yeah, I know all about Amazon as well. It's my day job.
Oh, okay.
So I was gonna like try and stop talking shop and say, oh yes, well if it's got this dimensions, then you'll be having it this price, and if it's this, so I'm gonna shut up now. But talking of going online shopping to a different type of shopping and Adventure Mart. Tell me about Adventure Mart, because it sounds it looks like a little bit of a kind of a different direction, but tell me all about it, please.
All right. So it began as like a idea that we wanted to make like a shop management fantasy style game, and because we thought like there's not really anything quite like that out there, and it was kind of a different kind of design because Doomsday Bots began mostly with like the game engine intact, and we wanted to we added flavor on top of it. But with like Adventure Mart, we kind of had the goal of this is how we want the game to feel. And we just started building in to try and make something that we wanted at the end. So Adventure Mart is... Do you want the pitch, pretty much?
I probably want a shorter pitch.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Then, I mean, I'm not. Don't take it personally, Elaine. But you said 37. Oh, I said 37 seconds. But Sam, okay, and okay, 3, 2, 1. Then we'll go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Adventure Mart is a deck building / store management game for 2 to 4 players. During the game, you'll acquire a bunch of stock for your store and sell it to a bunch of adventurers that show up in town. And during the course of the game, you can hire employees and install fixtures in your shop to make you be the best shop in town. Each player controls their own shop, and you're trying to earn the most money by the end of the game. And that's it.
Wow. See, that's how you do a pitch.
But you didn't talk about the theme.
I didn't
really talk about the theme now.
Pitch Mitch. Yeah.
So we started a fantasy style, kind of standard fantasy concept. But then I think I was having a shower one day, and I just came out of the shower, and I just had this idea that we should just twist it into this sort of 7-Eleven modern fantasy kind of style instead. And that kind of made sense from the convenience store aspect. So you're selling cups of magical ramen noodles, and you're stocking some pets and stuff to sell at people as well. So it's got kind of a cute kind of angle on it as well. And we're trying to kind of root it in sort of global mythology. So it's not just British swords and knights and dragons and stuff like that. And I think our artist has done a real good job at putting that kind of feel together.
Yeah, the art looks, from the couple of bits I've seen, it's cute as. Mm-hmm. I love the kind of the deer.
Yeah.
I love that deer. I want to own that. It's very Pokemon-y, isn't it? No, that's very cool. I like that. I like that a lot. What's the plans with it? I mean, is it still in development? Are you still playtesting phase? Kind of where are you with this at the moment?
We're still developing and playtesting and everything just now, but we're definitely getting there. Each playtest, it's just getting closer and closer to what we think is the right formula for it.
Yeah, I think we're about 90-95% complete on the game engine.
Yeah, I think so.
And everything from here on is mostly art and production.
Yeah, just sort of getting sort of the look and the feel of it right, and finalizing names for things and things like that. But I think in general the kind of gameplay and mechanics aspect are mostly done.
Okay. And are you going to go the same route with this? Is this going to be, you going back to Kickstarter with this one, or are you looking at potentially other kind of methods?
So pretty much the same plan as last year, I think. With the sort of Kickstarter, UK Games Expo, and this year it'll be cool because we'll be able to take that there and be sort of playtesting that, and we're going to be hopefully going to some other conventions and stuff, so we'll be able to be taking that and playtesting that, but also we'll have Doomsday Bots to sell and whatnot. So similar kind of route, but at least this time we'll be sort of a bit more prepared, a bit more sort of savvy about it all, because the UK Games Expo was our first time doing something like that, so it was kind of a crazy. It wasn't really planned. Initially, we weren't sort of we didn't go into it being right, we're gonna take Doomsday Bots and go to the expo.
Yeah,
it was just
you wanted to go to Eschenspiel.
Yeah, I was thinking that was a bit ambitious, certainly. Yeah.
And I think I was
there's a lot of pennies with that.
Yeah, exactly. So we started small, with the UK Games Expo. But yeah, it wasn't a plan from the start. We didn't think, okay, we're starting this board game thing, so we'll make sure we have something ready for the UK Games Expo. It was just kind of closer to the time we realised we had something that was at the point where, we can be kickstarting this and showing it to people. So it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. It was yep, we're just doing this. That's it. Mm-hmm. We're going to the UK Games Expo. So I just went and booked a booth, booked all that, and then it was just this crazy rush to get tables and tablecloths and banners and all this sort of stuff ready for it, and then getting cards printed up and cutting them all out and stuff. It was crazy, but it was an amazing experience to do it though.
In terms of kind of how you're going with the business just now, I mean, I take it kind of running a Kickstarter a year isn't going to be enough to kind of keep the wolf from the door.
No.
Financially. So I take it you balance up the kind of the digital work that you're doing with kind of like the kind of the kick. Is the kind of the board game stuff, is that almost like the hobby that the business does on the side until it kind of continues to kind of build up?
It's kind of gone the opposite way. Don't really do any of the digital stuff anymore, to be honest.
All right, okay.
It's all kind of gone around to the board game side of things because it's, we've found that it's something we all really like doing. We work well as a team, and we've obviously, we've been able to produce something that's now a physical product, which is really cool.
Okay.
So like we all have our sort of 9-to-5 jobs, and this is our this is our side hustle at the moment with the
side hustle.
Yeah. But yeah, we have certainly have the hopes of, one day once we get to a certain point, we'll be able to do that, do that sort of like full time and stuff. But
definitely,
for now, it's just keep it in our side hustle pile and do as much as we can with it. Try and make as much of a success of it as we can whilst just working our kind of regular 9-to-5s.
And if Adventure Mart makes $10 million,
Yeah, exactly. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be good, definitely.
The thing is nowadays, if Adventure Mart makes $10 million, you're probably going to end up having to spend like $9,900,000 kind of on shipping it through the EU.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll lose money on that. We'll make like 10 million on the Kickstarter, and then we'll actually owe like $1 million, and that'll be it. We'll be done.
Do like a ninja division and claim that you spent 10 times of it on kind of like salaries, kind of thing. Oh, that's sorry. Just ring the ninja division bell. But on the other side of it, I mean, with you having the experience of kind of bringing a game to Kickstarter, getting it out there, going through the kind of the publishing side of things, becoming a publisher yourself as well, is that something that you guys have considered? And my reasoning, I'll get you the reason I'm asking this, is because there are companies like, say, Alley Cat Games, who have gone from producing their own games that they designed to actually now producing games that other people have designed, and they're just bringing their kind of overall expertise on Kickstarter to the table. Would that be something you guys would ever consider if somebody came to you and said, I've just lived around the corner, I've got a really, really good idea. Would you be interested in kind of listening to it? Would that be something you guys would consider yourselves? Yeah,
like that's kind of the long-term goal with the company. Obviously at the moment we're still learning and whatnot ourselves. So I don't really think we'd be in a great position to be taking someone else's stuff on. But certainly sort of long-term, that's what we'd love to do. Is I don't think we ever want to stop making our own stuff, but being able to, continue making our own stuff, but also help other people and eventually become, sort of a small publisher where we can help people do things with their games and give our expertise and stuff. That's definitely where we would like to end up.
Okay. Is there a type of game that you'd love to make? I mean, Sam, I take it you would love to make the kind of the Magic the Gathering killer.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But
that's definitely the dream. But like, it's like definitely a full-time commitment to make.
You'd have to kind of kill Richard Garfield, wouldn't you?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's like, haha. I take away my Magic the Gathering. I can come back 10 times as stronger with something else, with Keyforge. Ha 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 ha. What about you, Elaine? Are you a worker placement? Is there a big minis? I mean, we talked about Warhammer.
Yeah, I think for me, I cut my teeth growing up on a lot of the Games Workshop specialist range back in the day. Things like your Mordimes, your Necromundas, these skirmish games that have so much character, and you get to build these little stories. That's the thing I tend to sort of say a lot with the with when we're developing the games and everything, is I'm always looking for the stories in the games. Even when you're playing a game that's 90% mechanical, I'm still making up stories for the tiles in Azul or whatever. So like my dream is this wonderful, beautifully detailed miniatures game where like it comes out of the box with beautiful campaign rules that develop character, but also is balanced and doesn't take up 4 tables.
Yeah.
Not Gloomhaven then.
Hey, Gloomhaven, I do have a spot in my heart for Gloomhaven, just not on the table because it's a lot smaller than it needs to be.
It's some size. I saw that there. I saw the box not that long ago, and I was just like that. I mean, I could move my house using that box.
Yeah,
you know, that's some size. So basically, what we're saying is the kind of I guess, Le Grandiose kind of almost like a Lord of the Rings-esque miniatures game is going to be coming from yourself, Elaine. Is this what you're kind of saying? But on kind of like a much bigger scale. Is there going to be singing, I guess, is what we need to know.
Absolutely. The primary method of doing any form of action is going to be ad-libbing poetry.
Oh dear. Defence is only done through dirty limericks. I've heard a rumour. What moving swiftly onwards. What about yourself, Robyn? I mean, is there any kind of game style that you would love Digisprite to be doing?
Oh yeah, definitely. For me, it's dice rollers.
Oh right, okay.
Like I love, but not just like, you know, rolling a dice. It's like, you know, you got to be throwing handfuls of those things and see what happens. So something with a lot of dice where it's just pretty much just a box full of dice. You know, that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be amazing.
Are you like Dice Forge and stuff like that? Did you get a chance to play Dice Forge?
I've not tried that out yet, but it does look really cool. It's one that I'm pretty sure I've got on a wish list somewhere that I need to pick up at some point.
Okay.
But yeah, like things, Champions of Midgard and stuff. That does.
Oh
that kind of gets there because, you know, you've got all your warriors and stuff that you're rolling. So I'd love to make something with a lot of dice. Yeah.
You'd love Steampunk Rally. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's an engine building game where you basically have handfuls of kind of clear, different coloured dice. It's absolutely amazing. Okay. That's all I'll say. Lots and lots of fun. Are you guys going to be venturing to Tabletop Scotland?
Yep.
Later on in the year?
Yeah, we've got ourselves booked in for a booth there, so we'll be there definitely.
Okay. So we'll have, as shall I.
Yep, so we'll have hopefully, well, I don't know, I say hopefully we'll have Doomsday Bots on sale there, but I would also be hopeful that, you know, if they were sold before then and we didn't, then that would also be good. So,
exactly.
But yeah, so we should probably have Doomsday Bots there for sale, and then we'll be play testing Adventure Mart and stuff as well. So.
Oh, cool!
Yeah,
excellent. I know of a lot of people that will be venturing up there, and myself included, because I had an off. Were you there? Did you go last year?
We did, yeah. We didn't exhibit last year, but we went along and took a look. It was really good. It's great to see that sort of thing like coming up here, because everything's either like in the States or down south. So it's really cool seeing that up here. Yeah,
it's good. It's going to be bigger and hopefully just as much fun as last time. If people have listened along tonight and they want to keep an eye on where you guys exist on the internet webs, where do you guys exist on the internet webs?
So we've got our website, which is just digisprite.co.uk.
Okay.
But most of our stuff just goes on Twitter. That's kind of where we are. So like all of our updates for like Adventure Mart and stuff just now, we're posting sort of the art that we get through from our artist and stuff. That just gets posted up there, and updates with like Doomsday Bots and all that. So we're at Digisprite Dev on there. That's definitely the best place to catch us and see what we're up to.
Cool. Well, what I will do is I'll make sure that we put all the links to these into the show notes so that we've got notes to show. If you want to keep an eye on where we're up to, just go to the internet, search for We're Not Wizards. You'll find us. We're everywhere. We're like a rash, except the one you're too embarrassed to go to the doctor with, but you wish you had once you're gone, because they'll give you a quick cream and you'll be rid of it forever. But, I'm just, just look after yourself. But, and you'll find us on our website, which is we'renotwizards.com, and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and, YouTube. And we're on all these lovely podcast catchers like Stitcher and Acast and Podknife and Podbean. And just take a word, put cast on the end, and it'll be a podcast catcher that you can catch this podcast on. If you like what you've listened to tonight, there's a couple of things you can do. The first thing you can do is tell somebody else, because one of the ways that we grow is by, through word of mouth. And if you have enjoyed it, then brilliant, tell somebody else. If you've hated it and you just want to let somebody suffer for an hour or whatever, not them, me, then, point them that way as well. If you really, really like what you've heard, consider going to Apple Podcasts, drop us a subscription, drop us a rating, consider giving us a review. If you are going to be giving us a review, then don't give us 10 stars, because it makes us big-headed, but don't give us 1 star, because it makes us cry, and I'm old, which means I'm an ugly crier. But give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average, and I'm just a little bit average. But the people who have not been average tonight, I give you the wonderful Sam, the fantastic Elaine, and the marvellous Robyn. So thank you very, very much for coming on.
Thanks
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Thanks.
And there's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, people?
No,
I've heard we're not. No.
Not last I checked. I did shout very loudly incantations at the cat, but it did nothing.
That's good enough for me. Oh my word. There's only one more thing to say, is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Elaine. Say goodbye, Elaine.
Goodbye, Elaine.
Say goodbye, Sam.
Goodbye, Sam.
Say goodbye, Robyn.
Goodbye, Robyn.
And we've got the triple, yay! It's goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, and, check out Doombots. There'll be links in the show notes. It looks fun. It looks worthwhile buying. And then after that, if you've checked out Doombots, then, maybe keep an eye out on the next game, which is going to be coming to Kickstarter sometime in the future. But they'll the best thing to do is just follow them on Twitter and stuff like that. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.